Good evening, Aces fans. Welcome to the 2020 virtual Purple Aces Caravan presented by Bud Light. Who'd have thought this is what we'd be doing in the summer of 2020, speaking to you virtually. Certainly miss being out at the restaurants in Evansville in person, being around all the Aces fans. But hopefully this turns out well tonight. You can enjoy the next hours. We'll get you caught up with Aces basketball. We'll have both head coaches from the women's team as well as the men's team, Matt Ruffing and Todd Licklider, over the course of the next hour. A couple of notes before we get rolling. In order to make sure that the video runs as smoothly as possible, we encourage our viewers to turn their video off and remain muted. Also, if you have any questions throughout the night for either Coach Ruffing or for Coach Licklider, feel free to send them in the Zoom chat, and we'll get to them throughout this evening. A couple of notes from the UE Athletics Department. Men's basketball season ticket deposits are now open. Just $100 to hold your spot in line for select seats following the current renewal deadline, which is August 14th. Information on many planned packages and single games will be released in October. And for women's basketball, be sure to get the All Sport Pass or Flex bundles and catch all the action this year. You can call the ticket office and order yours today, or for more information, that number is 812-488-2237. First segment, we'll have the head women's basketball coach, Matt Ruffing, on, and I believe he is ready to go. So, Coach Ruffing, it almost feels like I need to reintroduce myself to you. It's been what feels like 3 or 4 years since I've talked to you. I think it was February as the season was rolling down on campus. First things first, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Sorry about that, everybody. Just happy to be here tonight, to be in front of everybody and have a chance to talk basketball because it's been since March.
Well, and for you personally, we'll go into this first before we talk about the team. How have you handled, this pandemic the last 3 or 4 months? I know your routine, I'm sure what you're used to doing during the summer has been changed.
Yeah, quite a bit. It's been flipped upside down. You're just so used to, what's next as far as the job's concerned. After the season, then it's recruiting, finalizing the class. Then it's looking forward, to getting kids on campus for visits, and then going out recruiting. What do camps look like in the summer? And it's been totally turned upside down. And I think the staff's done a really good job, accommodating and just trying to figure out what works best for us and what we can do during this time to not only represent Evansville with future prospects, but also to help our team and try and navigate through this process.
Take us through what the typical weeks have looked like for you and your team. Obviously, you can't be together in person, but I would imagine getting together, whether it be Zoom chats or phone calls, text messages. What's that been like over the past few months?
Yeah, who would have thought back in March, when we were on the bus ride back from Moline, where our, conference tournament game got canceled, and, spring break got extended a week. And, I think our kids were kind of excited about that, but then trying to relay the message of how serious the situation was and, keeping in contact with them. It was difficult at the beginning because you have classes. So trying to give our kids, freedom, but then also the chance to focus on that and take care of business in the classroom, given the new environment, the online. There were a lot of difficulties that went along with that. We first and foremost told them if there's anything super important that they need to know, they'll know right away. We have position group meetings weekly. And then also too, we've done a little segment Coach Rogers has kind of set up as like a contest of the week. So something to kind of keep everyone engaged. And it's been from a drawing contest to a dance video to, find something purple other than like the shirt that you're wearing. So I think it's been really good. And we've had some really good talks, and, hopefully we can grow from this.
You mentioned you guys are on the bus coming back from the conference tournament. That's, one thing I don't think about is on the men's side. We were over in St. Louis the week before all this happened, got the conference tournament in. But for you guys, you were over there ready to play. What was it, that Thursday night? Just take us through how bizarre that entire situation was. I'm just uncertain if you're going to get to play.
Yeah, the night before, President Trump, addressed the United States and all the people on TV. And that's kind of when you realized, like, this might not happen tomorrow. How big of a deal it was and the level it gotten to. But the next morning we had breakfast, we had our shoot around. There were extra precautions at the shoot around, of course. NBC was doing, certain things to make sure the balls were clean, for our shooting stuff, and we were making sure we were entering and exiting certain spots. But that had to be one of the hardest things I've done as a coach, to assemble your team, after our, lunch pregame meal and tell them that, our season was ended and they were canceling the tournament.
So as we kind of wrap up the month of June, let's say things were normal and you guys were on campus doing your summer activities, what would you guys be doing or approximately at this point, and what does a typical summer look like for you?
Yeah, this year would have been quite different than years past, considering what we have coming back. So, we would have been able to, instead of working on phase 1 and phase 2, we could have been working on phase 3 and 4, implementing new things within the offense, and then really correcting some of the things defensively that, we need to work on based on last season. So, it's kind of a blessing to have a veteran group, one that has, had a lot of time on the floor, a lot of starts. I mean, we return all of our stat leaders. That's a really good thing. I'd rather be in this situation having that group than the group maybe we had last year where we only had a couple kids with experience. But as a coach, you just wish you had that time so that, you could develop, our freshmen last year into sophomores, sophomores into juniors, and juniors into seniors. So our kids would be doing a lot of stuff in the weight room. I think that's one area, getting a little stronger, especially our underclassmen. Getting our newcomers, the 3 newcomers that we have, getting them, bought in and into the system, getting them the chance to kind of learn it in the summertime, bond with their new teammates. That's one thing I think people kind of overlook when it comes to the summer is the chance that the group gets to really get to know each other off of the floor, because there's a lot of free time within that. So I really think we could have really progressed in a lot of areas. Scoring the basketball and things, if we could have had this time. But we've told them, like, it's on you guys. Like, unfortunately, NCAAs has rules, and we can't work you guys out. So it's really going to come down to the work you put in. And as soon as we're allowed to get back in the gym with you, we will, and we'll help you, and we'll build up your game to where we can. But we'd like to have you start, higher than where you were at the end of last season.
We'll talk about your 3 newcomers player-wise here later on in our segment, but I'm curious, early on, let's say end of March into April, and really probably into now as well, but with your Zoom meetings with your team, how much was focused on, I don't use the term necessarily mental health, but keeping that engagement, building that bond, and having maybe fun Zoom conferences with the team, because you are missing out on that in-person interaction?
Yeah, a lot of our Zoom meetings really haven't been about basketball. You can tell. I mean, everyone's just kind of itching to get back together, and just checking in to make sure, first off, everyone's doing okay, their families are all right. That's first and foremost, and just staying engaged. One of the big things that we encouraged our players to do was to get jobs if they could. Obviously, if they were on campus, they would be receiving money through their scholarship to help pay for their apartment and things. And so now that they're not on campus, they're not receiving that, but they still have apartments. So it's kind of, the real world has come to our players sooner than expected. So I would say 90% of our team probably has jobs right now. Some are in town, some are back home. And I think that's a great thing for our players to, to kind of experience that. And I think, though, they are really itching to get back into the gym. And, since things have opened up the facility, I know we've had some kids in there getting back in, getting some shots up.
And certainly summertime is a time to recruit, to get out and see players play basketball. And obviously you can't do that. How difficult has that been for you? And have you been a little bit antsy sitting at home?
You know what? I think the Aces have benefited from this. It's really leveled the playing field, like across the board. No matter what level of D1 you're looking at, no one can have people on campus. There's a lot of things that kind of go into it. And, we've obviously, our coaching staff has a lot of connections, and we're really working those connections, trying to find the best fits for our program. And, whether that's now, you FaceTime with recruits.
Mhm.
You can get that personal interaction there. Obviously, once hopefully, school opens back up and we're allowed to have people on campus, we'll have some recruits lined up to come visit. But I think it's been really good for us. And, I think you'll see with the three that we signed, we're very pleased with them. And we're off to a good start in the 21 class.
When you guys do get back to campus in the fall, will you approach the fall any differently than the past as far as preparing for the season?
No, not really. I mean, the only thing we have to keep in mind is the three newcomers.
Mhm.
I think I'm hopeful that all the returners, with the experience that they've gained this past year, will be able to hit the ground running with our system. But you know, probably too maybe go a little slower as far just there's a lot of obviously everyone thinks COVID with the health, but you got to think what has everyone done in the past 3-4 months. So it won't be we're going to go 2-3 hours right away. We're going to have to build it maybe a little more than what we have in the past, since they haven't had the summer. But it's an exciting task to think about, and I think our staff's excited to do it.
Let's talk last season briefly. I always sit down with you before the year and do like a preseason interview. And one thing you alluded to was playing a bit faster and maybe taking some more threes. And you felt like you had a deeper team last season where you play more girls and play that fast tempo. Were you happy with your style last year?
You know what? I thought we could have played faster. I think that'll come with experience that we gained this year. But you look at the numbers and possessions per game. We went from 178 to top 75. That's a massive jump, I think, with the young group that we had. So we're obviously going to be really promoting that as a staff as we go. And we have some kids that I think can be really good scorers for us, and we're going to really focus once we get back on the court with them, putting that ball in the basket and showing them different ways to do it and getting them really comfortable, and also to build their confidence.
Now, I mentioned playing fast and taking more threes. That doesn't necessarily mean just jack up threes. And we
Yeah.
had this conversation early in the season about your mindset and philosophy. You guys use some analytics. Just kind of take the fans through what you look for out of your offense.
Yeah. The best shot's the open shot. No matter what offense we're running, if it's our 5-out or 4-out, 1-in, or a set play, we are trying to find an open shot, and we want to make the defense work. That's one thing. If you do take quick shots, that's the one thing as a coach that you worry about, is you're not making them work. You're not making them defend. The 30 seconds that you get. So with the 5-out motion, making teams defend cuts and all these different screens. We're big on ball screens. So just really, targeting those areas. We have a system called Synergy that we use for film. It ranks every player in the country. It ranks every team in the country. We use that as a lot as coaches, for numbers. We do have a system for, where we try and get a certain number. So you add in the shots that we take, the turnovers that we have, and free throws that we take. Biggest thing I think that will help all of our numbers this coming year is rebounding. And, I thought, Abby Fight did a really good job last season. Jada Poland did as well. We had some others that had some games, but in order to get the ball and go on offense, we gotta do a better job of getting that rebound after that first shot. Believe it or not, we were one of the better teams in the conference and one of the better teams in the country first shot defense. A lot of people would think I'm nuts saying that, but when you look at the numbers, we are. And if we could have just gotten the rebound and not given teams second or third chances, I know you fans that came to games are probably frustrated thinking back in those moments when teams were getting those opportunities. But that's something too that we're going to work on really hard and emphasize just one shot.
Let's talk your returners. One of the players you mentioned, Abby Fight, heading into her sophomore season. She was the Missouri Valley Conference Freshman of the Year. 13 points per game, 8 rebounds, even shot the three ball fairly well, 35%. Outside of those numbers, what were you impressed with most about her freshman campaign?
I mean, just the maturity level and just her mindset. It's a big jump to go from high school to college ball, playing in the Missouri Valley. And not many kids have at Evansville have done it at the level that she has. And it was really impressive, man. You know, we had a really good meeting with her in the postseason, talking about things that she can improve on, and I think she's bought into that, and I'm excited to see, where that next step takes her. You alluded to three ball. Now if we can get her a little more comfortable on the perimeter dribbling, taking it to the basket, she's going to be a handful.
Let's go through your other your seniors, Lola Bracy and Jada Poland. Both had a pretty good junior campaigns. Would imagine they'll be two of your big leaders next year.
Yeah, I'll start with Jada. One of our better 3-point shooters, especially from the top of the key. You had a really good feeling when she shot that shot from the top of the key. It was going in. I think that she's someone that I think can make a big jump too. She's, again, senior year. This is her. She transferred into us. She's had a year to sit and watch, and then she played this year. So I think the experience that she gained this year, getting back into the flow of things, will really be beneficial for her this year. So expecting, some more versatility and more rebounding from her. Lola Bracy obviously missed the first part of the season last year, and then came out of the gates, playing really well. And for her, it's going to come down to consistency, but she has the tools and she has the mindset, and she's, all of them are great kids. And, she's someone that I think really wants to help in any way that she can, and was putting in work on the side, even during last season to improve. So I'm excited to see what she does her senior year, and hope that, the two that we've mentioned, the more they do and the more pressure they put on our opponents, that's the less, that makes Abby better. And so the more people we can get to that level, the better.
One of your local players, Anna Newman, heading into her junior season already, had 6 points per game last year, 3 assists. I know she's been working on staying in shape. I saw her out at Wesselman's actually yesterday. I was playing some tennis. I was pulling out. I'm like, that girl looks familiar. And it was Anna Newman. So she was just finishing up a run, but obviously made some strides in her sophomore season. What progress did you like out of her?
Oh, she did. She had a heck of an end of the year. She really started to show signs of confidence and, the belief in her teammates, and started seeing passes and seeing things that, she'd been watching film with Coach KP. And it was really good to see from the coaching staff, and you could see the light bulb come on. And, she led the team, 95 assists, pretty much split, minutes with our other point guard. And, as the year went, her minutes increased, and I think she's someone that, the team can look to, the team believes in, and, she started to really play at that pace. And the one thing that when we knew she, the light bulb's on, is when she started hitting those pull-ups off of ball screens. If she can continue to be a threat off that ball screen, when you have Jada Poland and you have Abby Fight and you have Josie Hudson, or any of our post players setting those ball screens, I don't want to be that opposing coach trying to figure out how I want to defend it, because that's going to be pretty tough.
Let's dive into some of your newcomers. Freshman guard coming out of an academy in Florida that was pretty talented academy. Erin Dumas, a 5'5" freshman guard. That academy was the number 2 ranking in Florida, so she's played some high-level basketball.
Yeah, the nice thing about, this class, unlike last year, I think we were trying to really fill holes, get big gaps. This group, I don't know if the pressure is going to be on this group as much maybe as last year's group of the newcomers, but Erin's a kid that's going to pick up 94 feet very quick, going to really help us push the pace on both sides of the ball, has really good vision. And I think she's someone that can not only push Anna, but help us in the games. And we'll continue to work on the offensive side of things for her, but we feel like she's got a bright future for us.
Move on to another freshman guard, Riley Stevens, 5'11" from Indiana, from Fairland, Indiana. Played at Triton Central High School. They went 26-1 last year, so she was around a winning culture and a big part of that. 16 points per game, 8 rebounds as a senior. So she brings kind of a winning mentality into the program.
Yeah, I think we're very fortunate to get Riley. We got a phone call from a very good AAU friend, one who actually pushed Sarah Dickey on us back in the day, and says, "Hey, I got another young lady for you, under the radar. You got to take a look at her. Here's our film." And our coaching staff fell in love, watching her film and just how hard she worked, her motor, the versatility, and she has a really good mid-range game, which is something you don't see very often. You talk a lot about us shooting threes and trying to get to the rim. This is someone I think that's going to be able to have an impact in that area on the floor for us.
Last newcomer, Sidney Thir, 5'11" sophomore, kind of a guard, also a forward from Belleville, Indiana. She played at Dodge City Community College, so some college experience under her belt coming in.
Yeah, interesting fact about her. So her coach at Dodge City used to be the former coach at Wabash, Zach Lowell. So he gave us a call and was like, "Hey, I got this young lady, lefty, gonna probably play a forward spot for us. Little undersized, but she just gets it done. Leading scorer, leading rebounder on our team. We had a good year this year." And he goes, "We have a kid going to Alabama, and she's our leading scorer and leading rebounder, and that kid's a post player." And so he said that just says enough. Great kid, hard worker, and from Illinois. So we're excited about her and hopeful that she can help in the rebounding. That we struggled with last year. That's going to be a big emphasis for us.
You mentioned with the incoming group, the 3 newcomers, not maybe as much pressure on them as last year's incoming group, but looking at your entire team as a whole and the program with the experience that returns, in your opinion, how big is next season for this program?
Oh, I think it's we have to turn the corner. It's right there in front of us. I mean, we returned 6 kids with 10+ starts. You got the freshman of the year coming back. You got 4 seniors. I think our incoming group can help us. Those that we haven't mentioned got valuable minutes last year and all showed signs, and we got to put it together. And it's going to be a lot of hard work, and when we get back into it. But at the end of the day, we can only control the controllables is what we talk about within our program. Big sign on our wall before you enter the door. And we can't have any excuses this year. Everyone's had the time off, and we got to put it together, come together, and make it happen.
All right, we'll finish up a couple minutes here left with Coach Ruffing. Then Todd Licklotter will join us for our last segment of our virtual caravan. Quarantine time, kind of being in your house probably more than you're used to. Have you discovered any new hobbies, or have you had more time to actually put some attention toward those hobbies?
Wow, yeah, that's a loaded question here. So I have had some more free time on my hands. I will say, in our household, I'm the one that goes to the grocery store. I was the one doing all the shopping. My wife stayed in the house, so I put the mask on and went out and did that duty. We've had some basement projects. We've had some outdoor projects. So I've had some time to put toward those, which has been good. Most people would probably think I've been on the golf course, but unfortunately, I've only golfed 4 times since the end of our season. So, been pretty busy though. Really, I've had a lot of Zoom meetings. The nice thing about this year too is we're going to have a full staff for the first time. So we're going to have 3 assistant coaches, a director of ops, and a GA. Since I've taken over, we've just had 3 assistant coaches. So I think it's a unique opportunity and great time for our program. And we're, still working on finalizing things, but we're trying to find the best people we can put around our players to not only help them on the court, but help them in life. And So it's been a unique experience. You know, it kind of at times feels like we go back to the 90s when I was younger. Um, I feel like it just, you're waving to people, you're doing like the little things. Going on walks is a big deal, or talking to your neighbors, standing 6 feet apart. So it's been interesting, but I think it's, something we're going to look back and remember forever. So it'll be good. It was good.
Well, Coach Ruffing, really appreciate you taking some time tonight to chat with us with our virtual caravan. Hopefully I'll see you around campus in a few months once we get back to action. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
All right, everyone, cross your fingers.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
A couple more notes here before we bring on the head men's basketball coach, Todd Licklider, with the women's basketball program. Be sure to get the All-Sport Pass or Flex bundles and catch all the action this year. You can call the ticket office and order yours today. Ticket office number is 812-488-2237. And with our virtual caravan, the thank you goes out to Working Distributors and Bud Light for their sponsorship of these caravans. Before we dive into men's basketball, for those of you that have joined us tonight, the season ticket deposits are now open. Just $100 to hold your spot in line to select seats following the current renewal deadline of August 14th. Information on mini plan packages and single games will be released in October. So I believe we are ready for Todd Licklider to join us and talk a little men's basketball once we get him swapped over here on the virtual caravan. Again, this will run till about 7 o'clock. For those of you that have joined us this evening, if you have some friends that maybe couldn't watch the caravan or follow along, the athletic department will archive this video and put it out to social media, I was told. So you can follow along gopurpleaces.com and also on the Twitter and Facebook sites for your friends that couldn't make it tonight. They can certainly watch at their convenience later on in the week. So with that, hopefully we can get Coach Licklider on. I know Emily, the mastermind behind it all this, is kind of monitoring. My computer froze for right now, so we're trying to get Coach Licklider to hop on. Bob Pristash is in here as well. See, but he's got Coach Ruffing off. Haven't seen Coach Licklider on yet. There he might be.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There we go. There's Coach Licklider.
Yeah,
How are you, Coach?
well, I'm good, all things considered. How about you, Jevin? It's nice to see you, so to speak.
It's it's been a while. It's been March back at the conference room in St. Louis. Our pregame interview locker room feels like 3 or 4 years ago, but good to see you again. We'll talk some things from last year and also into the future with the new players. You guys have had a busy off season with some new faces, but first we'll just dive into kind of what's been the weekly routine with you and the staff and the players through all this coronavirus pandemic.
Well, there's not really a weekly routine. One of basically our mission is daily improvement. So however that happens, you make that a goal of yours, or you make that your mission, and so things happen and come up, and you address them. So we've really just maintained a focus on our improvement and staying in touch with our players, our guys, and our message has been pretty consistent with them. As we want to make sure that they adhere to the health guidelines and take care of themselves and stay healthy, and what we said, be good teammates, And then we also shared with them in a number of ways what we're looking for for our environment coming up, and what it means to be a good teammate. And we've shared with them a lot. And then, not last, the academics. So they were able to navigate the online and really had an outstanding spring. I was really proud of them. So that's basically what we've been talking about throughout this. Those are the things we thought we could focus on and show improvement, and our guys have embraced it.
I know this would have been your first summer here at UE as the head coach, and you've had several other summers as the head coach. But what would you guys be doing at this point in the summer, into June, heading into July? What are you guys missing out on right now?
Well, it's interesting, and it's not just that you're missing out or that, I think somebody said you lost a summer. Or I don't see it that way. The old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I mean, we're away from one another and away from the game, and away from the gym. There'll probably be a lot of enthusiasm to get back. And so I don't see it as completely lost. You get thrown a curveball and you hit it. You do what you can. Nobody could see this coming, I don't think, or expect it. But like I say, our guys rallied and did a great job in the classroom, and they've been very attentive to us, and we've continued to make progress. Logan and I have we spend a lot of time on the phone trying to make the right moves and make progress. But some of the things I missed this summer, to be honest with you, is camp. It's really nice to have a camp for the community and have the community stop in and have your players coach teams and get that side of it, and also interact with our young fans. So the camp, is obviously disappointing. You want to do that. They would be in the gym more. Obviously, we could spend some time with our players in the gym, and then a little bit of recruiting, and the interaction with your staff is something that you miss. It's more of an ordeal now. It's a phone call, a text, a Zoom meeting, something like that. Whereas when you're in the office, it's just interaction, much more natural. So there are differences, but I really believe we've made progress in a unique and difficult situation.
We had this conversation last year. It was a unique situation with you coming in middle of January, and we had a discussion about trying to implement your culture and your philosophy as far as playing. And it's tough to do when you have a couple of games a week. You're playing on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a tough conference like the Missouri Valley. As you head into the fall, what will your approach be as you start to implement your culture and how you want to play here?
Well, we really were able to introduce it. And fortunately, I had relationships with these guys. They knew, although I wasn't in charge, obviously, you know what somebody stands for. And that's one of the reasons it was so appealing to return was the players. And they welcomed me back, and it was very moving for me. And then the other outstanding people in the community and in the university, our leadership. It's just, somebody asked me, why'd you come back? And I said, too many positives not to. I'm just, it's too exciting. I was feeling well. So I would say, I don't know percentage wise, but we've been able to introduce what we're about and what we want to do and how we want to go about it. And so, now it's just continue to emphasize being consistent. I tell them consistency is the mark of a champion. You're in sports, you're either dealing with adversity, which you have to bounce back, and people talk about that a lot. But you also have to deal with prosperity if you're ever going to be very good at all, because in tournament play, you win, and if you spend all your time thinking about that, you get beat the next day. You want to keep moving, so you have to be able to handle both. And so I think that, like I said, I think we've introduced what we're about. Our guys have embraced it, the ones that are with us now, and I feel like we've made that progress, and I appreciate our players and those that are returning.
Yeah, just to kind of continue on with that thought, you were very praiseworthy throughout the month of February with how well the guys adjusted to all the changes thrown in front of them. And they had a very competitive month of February. I remember 4 or 5 games, you guys were right there so close to winning. And you mentioned how you felt for the guys because they were putting their work, they were going about the right way. They just couldn't get over that hump.
Yeah, and you're towards the end of a conference season in a very challenging conference. So it's not going to come easy, and we were close. And some people say, well, you either win or you lose, and there's some truth to that. I understand. The goal is you win the next game. What I tell them, win the next game 1 possession at a time. Just stay right in the moment and keep that up. And I think those are your goals. They're established for you. But I saw improvement, and I saw a willingness to pay attention and really attempt to do what we're asking them to do. So I think they'll be rewarded. And we want to reward our fans too. They're second to none.
Never really got the chance to ask you this question last year because, again, we were so busy, just kind of in the middle of a firestorm trying to get ready for that next game. And as you look at this program over the next couple of years, we know you're going to be here for the next several years. How do you view this program? What are some goals that you have for the University of Evansville?
Well, as I was saying, Jevin, I think goals are established, and what those are, the competition. So, and goals are what I say time bound. So, but what we're trying to do is establish a vision for our program, what it is that who we want to be really, and it would be, I guess, I want to set a standard. This is what Division I college basketball is about: highly competitive, degree-seeking individuals. And we're going to, that's one of the things I like about the University of Evansville on this level is, if we have a player that, enters the draft after 2 years and that's all good. I don't have a problem. But we're most likely going to have players that are going to be here and play for 4 years, maybe even need the extra year to graduate or whatever, but they're going to leave here with an outstanding career and a degree. How rewarding is that? So I just see our program as being a program that can truly, sincerely say we're going to compete for championships, and we're going to be degree seeking, and we're going to earn a very distinguished degree.
Reminder to those that are watching or listening, if you have a question for Coach Licklider later on our conversation, be sure to send those to the Zoom chat. I'll try to get those throughout the evening. All right, let's talk end of year progress with individual players. About two that really stood out were Juwan Newton and Evan Kuhlman. They played some really good basketball that final month.
Yeah, I owe them. They make you look like a good coach, don't they? I just appreciate it. You know what? I think they settled in. They felt comfortable with what we were asking to do, and I may have defined team before, and I apologize if people have heard it, but in The Magic of Teamwork by Pat Williams, he defined it so well. And he said that it's diversity of skill, unification of purpose. So we're on the same page, but we're complementing one another. That's like with recruiting. You're not just amassing talent, you're seeing how they interact with one another and how they're going to complement, and you're building a team. Well, Juwan did what Juwan could do really well. He shot the open shot, he played, he defended well, he ran the court hard, he competed, and we still got, he'll tell you, we're going to keep refining and getting him to do more of what he does well. That's the other thing. I think so often in coaching, we look at the weakness of somebody and think we're going to make it a strength. And my philosophy comes from another book that I read, Soar with Your Strengths. So Juwan did that. Evan, same thing. I think you're really good when you can play through your big guys and trust them. And Evan still, I'd like for him to, let's see, how do I put it? I've talked to him about it too. He sees things that are developing, and he's going to have the ability to just ease off of it. What I always tell him is, I'd rather lose a scoring opportunity than to lose the ball. Hey, I'm glad he can see it. He can see a lot, but now we got to get him to temper it a little bit. But that's the only, I thought, I was very pleased with the way he played, and we could play through him. He could stretch defense. He shot the ball well. So both those guys. It's hard to single out players though when your emphasis is team. I was really proud of our guys. It hurt me, to be honest with you, that they couldn't get. But we'll see if that doesn't propel us a little bit. If that doesn't, make us a little more hungry.
One of your key returning guys now will head into a senior season, Sam Cunliffe, and we saw throughout the year some real good games from Sam and some games where maybe didn't perform to his ability. And you were here for about a half a season with Sam. What did you notice about him that you think you can put forward next year to maybe get the best out of Sam on a more consistent basis?
Well, I thought we trusted one another throughout he trusted that what I was telling him was, going to be beneficial. I was really proud of him in the conference tournament. He was really determined to try to help. He had a little bit of a rough first half, but he had a good second half. He bounced back, and I was really proud of him for that. I think that, I was telling Logan the other day, I still, every once in a while, think about a rebound or two that he got. It was incredible. I mean, he got rebounds that not very many guys can get at times. So we just have to, it's the same with Sam and with each guy. Just soar with your strengths. Do what you do well, and let somebody else do the other thing. Sometimes I think that as a player, it's like, hey, let me try. I want to try that for a little while. No, you do what you do, and let the guy. It's like bringing the ball up the court. Hey, throw it to Shamar. I'm not talking about Sam now, but just in general, throw it to Shamar. He'll bring it up for us. I think he led the league in assist to turnover, didn't he? So let's just go with that. Everybody else run the floor, and then we'll throw it to you in the spot that's best for you. So I think Sam's. I'm excited for his next step.
Last two guys I want to touch on as far as coming back next year. You mentioned Shamar Gibbons, his assist to turnovers. He had just 6 games where he had more than 1 turnover in a contest. So he protects the ball very well. He's still trying to improve his scoring just a tad. What role do you see, as far as Shamar goes next year? And also Noah Fredericking, a guy that appeared to be in better shape last year. Maybe didn't shoot the ball quite as well as we expected from Noah. But those two guys, what are you looking for next year from them?
Well, one thing is everybody expected Noah to shoot well, and the opponents too. So now he's not getting quite the looks, but what he does do is space the floor for you. So now we've got to get a guy that can drive behind his opponent and then make a play for there. So sometimes the shooter's doing his job just by spacing the floor. So you have to appreciate him. And Noah's very steady. You trust him. He's going to try to make the right play, and he's going to play within himself. And so, you appreciated the way he played the game. Shamar, I love that you can put the ball in his hands and trust him to bring it down and make a good play. And I think he's going to, that's going to keep developing. I've been very fortunate. I think I've coached 3 teams that have led the nation in fewest turnovers. And I'll tell you, Thad Matta, the Ohio State coach, good friend of mine, he told me one time, not too long ago, one of my fondest compliments is he said, you know what wins in March, and you know how to teach what wins in March. And so, that was quite a compliment coming from him. And what wins in March is handling the ball safely, and then also defending. I know everybody likes to talk about the offense, and we love it. We're gonna push it. We're gonna score quick if we can, but we're gonna defend, and we're gonna have ball security, and that having Shamar out there is very comforting.
Before we talk about some of your newcomers, just recruiting as a whole, your philosophy. You've been coaching for a handful of years. You've seen a handful of players, different guys. But what's kind of your philosophy with recruiting? I know it's easy to say, well, that guy's talented, let's take him, but there's kind of more to it.
There's a lot more to it to me. I don't know if we've really thought it out. I think we think recruiting is finding a player and kind of pursuing him and begging him to come. And, what happens is if it's off balance, if you're pursuing the player all the time, it's only right that he would think that possibly he was doing you a favor. And this is at least 50-50 here. This is, if you get to play for the University of Evansville and earn an Evansville degree, there should be great appreciation and pride. And then we also appreciate and respect those that play the game the right way and can help us reach our goals, and they'll have self-satisfaction in that. It's not an individual sport, it's a team sport. So the recruiting end, we're looking to, as I said before, we're looking to blend players, to complement one another, to appreciate people for what they do well. And one of the things I like is a skilled player. I think we can teach them how to defend but a lot of times it's hard you're not going to create a shooter. I had a coach ask me not too long ago, you had those great shooters at Butler. What did you tell them? And I said, I didn't tell them anything. I told the passers to get them the ball when they wanted it, where they wanted it. Shooters, so often you find them. You go out and you watch, and there's a great shooting coach that actually used to coach here named Steve Bennett, assistant coach. He was at Newcastle for years, and I think 3 of our top 3 three-point shooters in Butler history were all from Newcastle. So, you know what you're getting there. So the recruiting is, for me, it needs to be, two-sided. And we want to recruit people who want to be here. And we don't have a problem with letting them know. When I got here, I think Logan and I were out at least 3 nights a week, probably 4 throughout, the end of January, all of February. And then we were actually the weekend of the tournament, after we got knocked out, we went to 2 games the next day. So we saw a lot of guys, and not everybody we see. I'm not going to offer a scholarship to a guy just because he can play basketball. We're not going to be quick on that. It means too much to us, and we're gonna recruit guys that we know fit, and that will uphold what we're our vision and what we want, and be proud to be aces. So that's kind of my philosophy in the recruiting. It's a little bit, I think it's a little different. I don't mind working, but I want to work smart. Matter of fact, you have to work. There's no question. And but also, as you mentioned, I've been around this for a while. I'm very fortunate. I've got a lot of contacts, and so many of the coaches know what we're looking for, and not only as a player but as a person. And so we get the benefit of those relationships.
Certainly, the summer is a busy time as far as recruiting with a lot of AAU basketball, and touch on this with Coach Ruffing, but that certainly has changed this year. A lot of fans know you can't be there in person and can't talk to them. What are the rules as far as recruiting this summer? Are you able to have any contact with possible recruits at all, whether it be through text message or phone call?
You can do that. There's just no in person. You can't off campus or on, and that's okay. This is a lot bigger than what we've gone through. Is I just honor the experts and respect them, and so we're willing to work anyway. And we've been, Logan is a tireless worker. He's got a lot of contacts for a young guy, and so he's helped get us involved. And then I usually know somebody that might directly know a player or have seen them, so we can talk to people and get backgrounds. And we've been fortunate. We've stayed on it, and like I said, Logan and I talk extensively, nearly every day except for Sundays. We don't. On that day, we take the day off, but most every day. So.
All right, let's talk some of the new faces as expected heading to this year, having a handful of new guys. Let's kind of go down the order a little bit. The first one, Emmett Page, a 6'2" junior guard, put up some big numbers. Looked like he can score. Was at Northeast Community College, which is in Nebraska. What do you like about his game?
Well, I think those player like Emmett is described one of 2 ways. Either they call him a combo guard or a scoring point guard. And either one I like. I like it a lot. And I love to have 2 point guards on the floor at the same time. Then you can shift and you can make adjustments. And plus, if one comes out, the other one's been playing, you don't just put him in and put him on the ball immediately. So we see that Emmett and Shamar can play together, or Emmett can play, the point as well. And then, he's, like I say, he's a scoring point. So I was just really impressed. And you might know this, he's from Minneapolis, and Marty Hill is the one that, called us on him. And I trust Marty completely. He's a fine young man. So it was good. That's anytime you can get a former player, they know what you're about, and know what you want, and know the system and the program. So it's always helpful. But Emmett he was great to recruit, and we're excited to have him.
Jax Levitch, 6'7" grad transfer. He's a forward out of Louisville, Kentucky. Kind of looking at some of his stats and background. Last season at UNC Asheville, didn't get to play a whole lot, but did get some nice experience at Purdue Fort Wayne his freshman sophomore season.
Well, I think he played more in position at Fort Wayne. I believe he had to shift down and play the 5. And, I told him, hey, we might ask you to guard a 5 every once in a while, but it's not going to be a steady diet of that. And we're not going to ask you we're going to play to your strengths. His strengths face up. He can handle it. He's a 3-4, not a 4-5. But he can stretch the defense. He can shoot it. He's very mature. He's already graduated. He's going to grad school. So we were really excited that he, close to home, wanted to come closer to home. And Logan actually knows his brother who went to Louisville. So there was a connection there. And then we spent some time on the phone with Jax, and fortunate enough that he wanted to be an ace. So we're excited to add him.
This next kid I know you guys are very excited to have, and have heard nothing but great things about him. Trey Hall, the 6'9" freshman forward from Connecticut. He played last year at Linkier Prep in Branson, Missouri. Sounds like he's a real talent.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Trey as a person too. Yes, he's very talented, and we recruited him the longest, although it was Logan that recruited him. Logan had actually told me about him, just during the season before I came back. Logan and I would talk every once in a while and about recruits. Matter of fact, I think Logan would call me on his long drives, so give him somebody to talk to, I guess. So he was coming back from Branson where Trey was at, and we talked pretty extensively about him, and he was just enthused, versatility and the way his potential and just the kind of person. And one of the things I really liked was Trey and his father then took it unofficial and came back and came to a game and came to a workout and wanted to see, because he had committed before I arrived. And it went well enough that Trey said, yeah, he was still on board. So I feel like we did, we had a little more interaction than what you might normally have. So and it was because Trey and his father made the effort, and I appreciate him for that.
Samari Curtis, 6'4" sophomore guard. He's had quite the journey, and we'll go through this for the fans that maybe don't know. He originally committed to Xavier, then Chris Mack went to Louisville. He jumped to Cincinnati. Their coach leaves. Then he went to Nebraska, and now he's here at the University of Evansville. So he's been at some high-level colleges, has a talent. Mr. Basketball in Ohio, his senior year, he averaged over 30 points per game. Certainly excited to have him on board.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not leaving. So he's had a couple of coaches leave on him. I'm not. So we're going to be together, Samari and I. But I'll just share this with you. Yes, he scored, Mr. Basketball, all that. But we had a workout last spring, and I still remember it. And he and I talked afterwards. We did a lot of defensive technique, and he was just outstanding. And I told him, I said, I knew you could score, but now I'm really excited because you've shown, you're going to be able to guard on the ball. He can. He's got good size, good length. He understands it, So that really, as I said before, what wins in March is defense and ball security. So to see him sit down in the stance and be able to master the technique quickly like that, that's encouraging.
The last two players we'll touch on, they were just officially announced. I believe it was on Friday. Ian Inaruna, who's a 6'9" junior forward from Netherlands, played at a community college in Kansas last year. And then Alex Matthews, pretty good talent out of Kentucky, was the Gatorade Kentucky Player of the Year, a finalist for Mr. Basketball. I just speak on those two guys to wrap up the newcomers.
Well, I would say that's pretty good talent. I wasn't even mentioned when I was playing as a Gatorade player or Mr. Basketball, so I respect that. That's you have to appreciate him. I think that he's a guy who can really present problems for people. He can score, and they just got such rave reviews from their coaches. Both of them just, their coaches just went on about what kind of teammates they are. And, Ian's very versatile. Alex is very versatile. He can score multiple ways. Shot 41% from 3 last year. That's an improvement. And so it's a credit to him. He continued to build his game and improve. So both those guys are going to be great additions. But the neat thing is we're excited about the 5 coming in, but we're really excited about the returners too, because we've set the standards. We know what we want to do. They've bought in, and so there's going to be an opportunity to kind of to mesh and for those returners to lead. And I just think we've really got a good mix of players and people, the right people.
I have about 5 minutes left here on our UE Virtual Caravan. We'll get to a few of the fan questions. The first one is, can you discuss next season's schedule a little bit and your philosophy regarding scheduling? Is there anything that you can tell us about next year's schedule?
We're about complete, and I think they'll announce it. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to announce it, but I think it's a challenging schedule. We want to make sure that we have a schedule that prepares us for conference play. And so it's a nice challenge. We've got good programs in the area, and so we've attracted some of them, and so we've got like I say, we have a good schedule beyond just the competition level and all. You have to look at travel. You have to look at days where you might miss class. You have to look at recovery. We want to be able to play a good schedule, but also to not neglect the other aspects. I don't want to fatigue our guys, and I don't want to miss a lot of class. So I think all things considered, we've done it. And Logan and I worked pretty diligently on finishing it this spring. He had a really good start, and Mark Spencer was involved as well. He's got a good feel for scheduling as well.
I was given the liberty to share a couple of games for next year. I think
really?
everyone pretty well knows this one. The opener at Purdue will be a good opportunity for the group, and also a home and home with Belmont. That's a quality opponent to play twice.
Yeah, it's and close, and so it makes sense. Not always in favor of, but I think that one makes sense. And we scrimmaged them actually 2 years ago when I was here. It was a really good scrimmage, and it tested our guys. And so it's nice to play. I mean, obviously, you want to get some of those teams back in Roberts, and that's hard to do. But what's interesting, Jim, is when they said Purdue, I remembered years and years ago, I was watching, I think, an Evansville Purdue game. Evansville shoots like a 3/4 court shot, and Purdue goaltends it. Are you aware of that?
I've heard that story, yeah.
I can still, I'm pretty sure I was sitting there watching that, and I now remember it. So as soon as I just had this memory of it. And if that's the way we were going to win up there, okay.
I know they're tough to work out, home and home in the same season. I believe we did that with Ball State when you were an assistant here that one year. Is that something that you think is beneficial? Maybe you'd like to see more of, where you stay in state and play somebody with a home and home each year?
Well, it's not I think you just take it as case by case, basically. And especially with travel right now, I want to stay close to our guys, close to our to Evansville and cut our travel back and all. So it just makes sense. If you can play a quality opponent in Nashville, let's do it. We were looking at Lipscomb also a couple of years ago when I was here. Good program, but that's when Casey, who's the head coach at Belmont, was at Lipscomb. Mm-hmm. And then he moved over last year. So we'll look at that, especially. You bring quality. It's fine to go to their place, but you bring a quality opponent to Roberts too. So to Roberts, to the Ford Center. Did I say Roberts last time also?
We'll let it slide. Hey, we actually had someone comment on that goaltend. 83 Ace sent into the chat, said Bill Franklin on the goaltend, John Wellemeyer on the shot he thanks for the win.
That sounds. I'm going to believe it. I just remember. So. All
right, last one for you. Got about 2 minutes left here. Another question, and when do you expect to complete your coaching staff?
Well, we've made progress. I guess I can say when you've been at it as long as I have, you've got a short list, obviously at all times. I'm very, very excited about the guys that are that we feel like are going to come. We just have to finalize it. So it should be within, the month, I would think. And, so we're excited. I see no reason why we won't get the two guys I want, and it'll make a really strong staff.
All right, Coach. Well, it is 7 o'clock on the dot. Really appreciate you stopping by for about 30 minutes tonight. Can't wait to see you in person, hopefully here in a few months on campus.
I wish all the fans the best, and you too, gentlemen. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, Coach. See you.
Thank you.
All right, that wraps up our, first ever virtual UE Caravan. Huge thanks to Working Distributors and Bud Light for their support. Again, worth noting that if you had some friends or family members, whomever you know that are Aces fans that want to watch this, maybe they missed it tonight, had other things going on, the athletic department will repost it, I believe tomorrow. They'll put it out there. So you can follow GoPurpleAces.com. Also, the UE Athletics app on Twitter. That's at UE Athletics, and the individual account for men's and women's basketball is at UE Athletics _ women's BB for women's basketball and _ men's BB for men's basketball. So thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Can't wait to be back in person, whether that's this fall somewhere or at Ford Center in the wintertime. Until then, stay safe. Good night.